Okay, so let's begin up with our panel discussion one. And the topic is quite interesting in the morning. That is humanizing marketing, keeping personalization alive in the age of AI. We have our key speakers joining in: Jaslyin Qiyu, founder from Mad About Marketing Consulting, and also our silver partner. So can we have a big round of applause for her and have her on the stage? Vimal, Kunnath, Babu, he's an assistant manager, a marketing manager, Itharah, Amusement Center, LLC, Adventureland. Can we have a big round of applause for him and have him on the stage? Aaryan Kapur, he's a group head, digital marketing, Aster, DM Healthcare and Medcare group. Can we have a big round of applause for him and have him on the stage? Priyanka, Raman, she's an e-commerce consultant. So can we have a big round of applause and have her on the stage? And the moderator of the session, Gugulethu, Moloto, global industry marketing manager from ABB. So over to you, Gugu.
Thank you so much for that introduction. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, everybody. Right, now that the introductions are out of the way, I'm going to shoot straight into our interesting topic for today, which is humanizing marketing, keeping a personalization alive in the age of AI. In today's world, companies like Netflix, Amazon, Spotify have set a really high standard for how AI can transform personalization at scale. They use powerful algorithms to analyze our behaviors, preferences, habits, delivering recommendations and experiences tailored just for us. You will relate with me that Netflix can just make you feel like your content is handpicked just for you. Amazon suggesting products that aligns perfectly with what you need at a particular time. And Spotify creating a playlist that seems to know your music taste better than you even do, right? So I'm going to turn to my colleagues over here and just get deep into some real life experiences. Team, do you have any specific case studies, success stories where AI and personalization have worked together effectively in your organization or industry? If you can also touch on the challenges of implementing those and how you overcome those challenges. And Jaslyin, if you don't mind me starting with you.
Sure, thanks, Gugu. So, because in my line of work, I consult for quite a number of big corporates. I mean, I can't really name names because some of them are still going on and it's sensitive. So, just to give one example of a global firm that I helped recently, in terms of the candidate application process. So they have on paper what it looks like a really perfect example of AI automation in full scale. So when people apply, and then the candidate automatically can schedule an interview. The hiring people put their names against, and their schedule, and then it all coincides. And then the interviewer goes through the process. After a few months, they maybe get selected or not. And then to close the entire loop, what looks like a closed, perfect loop is that the candidate gets informed via the platform as well, whether he or she is successful. And then immediately after, there is a satisfaction survey, which is like a net promoter score survey. So they were very puzzled because on paper it looks perfect, end to end. But they were tanking in their NPS scores. They were getting really bad scores. And the way they were asking the questions as well, that's also something that's missing. So then when it came to me to examine the customer journey, what is going on, then I did a remapping as to their decisioning logic. And I realized essentially it's because there was a gap in the decisioning flow. So there was a period of 2 or 3 months for a lot of the candidates when they get through to the second or third stage where the hiring manager was sitting on the decision, did not communicate with their HR hiring team, basically. And because the hiring team is so busy with so many applicants, so they just let AI, the machine, do their thing, and they think that everything is good. And if there's no internal communications, they don't know what's going on. And so then imagine if you're a candidate, you didn't hear from anything from the hiring team. There's no way for them to contact them as well, because they don't give their contacts for 4 to 6 months. Then 4 to 6 months later, you get a rejection. And immediately, so efficiently, you get a survey. Of course, you'll be very, very pissed about it. And of course, you'll give a very bad rating, even though maybe at the beginning of the experience, it was good. So with that in mind, then I remapped the entire, and then said that you actually need to cater for different scenarios like that, where you need longer decisions to be made than what you should do. In this case, there should be a human intervention, either by the recruiting team or even the hiring manager to communicate with the candidate. So that is where I think you cannot leave things entirely to AI. You still need a bit of the human intervention at the right touch points and to really scrutinize all your customer journeys.
Wow, that's really insightful. Thanks, Jaslyin, for sharing. Vimal, any thoughts from you?
Yeah, adding to that, since I come from a digital agency experience, right after my college, I started an IT agency. And after that, I joined as a head of digital for another company. So we deal with different scenarios. Clients come, they need to get results as soon as possible. So one case study that stands out is the use of chatbots. It's a simple solution. You have someone who is behind the screen typing to customers' queries and all, and then we use AI here. The one thing that surprised me was that when we introduced AI bots, the change was huge. Let's say with a normal person, the conversation, it can go anyway. It can go extended. It may dull from the topic as well. But with AI bots, we can limit it. With those limitations that we had with people who are typing in, with AI bots, those were limitless. And I could say that more than 50% returns were there. The number of leads that the companies got were high. And I would say one of the platforms that I liked was collect.chat. And with that, we were able to bring in more results. So with the help of AI, the simple things that we see, it can be magnified. It can be extended to give further results. So I think it's a huge blessing that AI has been introduced into our lives, and we all should be grateful for it, I would say.
Yeah, that's amazing. Thank you. Priyanka?
Thanks for asking me this, Gugu. I feel like we are scrapping the surface when it comes to AI and balancing personalization. So let me give you an example from where I come from, which is e-commerce. So 2 years ago or 3 years ago, conversational commerce was a very big thing in the industry. We had companies that would come and integrate, and we had to actually sit and program the entire conversation. I think with chatbot, you would have gone through something similar, because you obviously want the conversation to end in a shopping experience. You want a conversion. You don't want people to just ramble around. So you sort of tailor the conversation, and we had to actually sit and write the script and make sure that we account for all the scenarios and all of that. One of the things that we uncovered back then when we tried to use AI was the fact that it did not budget for the slang that people would use sometimes. Yeah. If you're from Southeast Asia, I think Jaslyin here would know. Some of the words are said in a different way and typed in a different way, and sometimes the bots have not yet evolved to sort of understand that. But this whole space, and I want to sort of delve on the fact that it's evolving at a very fast rate, because I had the chance to engage with Rufus, which is Amazon's AI-powered chatbot, which is now launched as a beta version in India. And it's amazing how beautifully it works, what kind of questions you can ask it. I actually spend more time talking to Rufus than actually shopping, right? And I think that we are sort of going to a scenario where we might actually open a shopping app, And I mean, Jaslyin here, coming here from Singapore, might say, hey, listen, can you tell me what outfits I need to pack or shop to come to Dubai for a week? And that chatbot engine might actually throw up recommendations, not just based on the weather conditions and the fact that she's going to an event, but also what Jaslyin has shopped in the past, which is, the AI recommendations based on her past purchase behavior, what she's been looking at, what she's been adding to cart, and then adding that personalization of, where she needs to be and how she needs to be, what's the weather, and so on. So I think that we are just scratching the surface. I totally feel like the future of AI-powered commerce is like going to be amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, very, very interesting. Aaryan?
Thank you, thank you. Right, so brilliant, I think, insights so far from all of my colleagues. I'll just cover it from a little bit from the healthcare perspective. It's the industry where I come from. But we are also doing commerce at scale through AI, right? So we launched this platform called My Aster about 3 years ago, where it's like a platform that encompasses all of Aster Group's services under one roof. So teleconsultation, online pharmacy, appointment booking, record keeping, health profiling, everything happens under one platform. So what we discovered initially when we launched the platform, and with the advent of telemedicine, we knew that telemedicine will be something that will take a huge boom on the platform. Which was true in some sense, but in terms of the overall patient journey, we saw some gaps happening, right? For example, if somebody was doing a telemedicine consultation, their prescription delivery was not as seamless as it was supposed to be. Similarly, if somebody was doing an offline appointment in a hospital or a clinic, the receiving of their prescription or of their lab reports was not that seamless. So through AI, we were able to build, first of all, analyze this entire journey of where the gaps are, right? Because we were able to implement and create some algorithms in-house as well to see where our patients were churning from the platform, which helped us identify that, okay, fine, these are the drop points and these could be the potential reasons of why people are churning off. Then we implemented certain specialized CRM tools to create A/B testing scenarios within the platform that would help us actually pinpoint that, is this the reason because of which people are dropping off, or is it something else, right? So we did like a theory, hypothesis testing, and finally affirmation of what was actually not working on the platform. And then implemented certain models and user journey experience enhancements to actually fix that. So some of the fixes that we made were like, for example, if you're doing a telemedicine consultation, automatically you will be entered into the journey wherein your prescription delivery will happen without a click of a button. Similarly, if you're doing a consultation offline, automatically all of your reports and your prescription will be synced to the platform directly. So this also promotes sustainability in a way, but enhances the patient experience overall. Similarly, on the e-commerce side, because we have a vast array of 20,000 plus SKUs on the platform, how, let's say, a mom who is shopping for her baby products and all, would interact with the platform would be very different from a fitness enthusiast, like one of my colleague who mentioned today morning, would be very different, right? That user behavior and how they want to see the platform even, right? Leave alone how they want to shop on that platform. So through AI, we were able to build certain specialized journeys wherein the entire look and feel of the platform would be modified according to the past behavior and preferences of the user on that platform. So if you, let's say you're a mom shopping for mom and baby products, not only the products and the suggestions will be tailored to you, but even, let's say, the banners, the modules, the widgets that are there on the platform will be sort of, depicting what your user behavior is. Similarly, on the healthcare side, the specialities that, say, that you're looking at and that you've interacted with would be automatically shifted based on your preferences once you're revisiting the platform. So let's say if you've interacted with the gyno, when the next time you come on the platform, that will shift on the top in the list of these specialities. These are some of the use cases that we've implemented so far.
Wow, thank you. Thank you so much, colleagues, for sharing that. While you have the mic, Aaryan, I just want to explore the tension between automation and empathy in AI-driven marketing. Do you want to share your thoughts around that?
Absolutely. I think, like I said, coming from healthcare, it becomes very crucial for us to understand the empathy aspect and merging it with the automation provided by AI. right? So we have to be very secure and very careful of what we are communicating to our audiences. I'll start off with an example that went bad in a healthcare scenario from an automation point of view. I wouldn't take names of with whom, but basically there was a message, automated message was triggered congratulating the father on the pregnancy of their daughter while he wasn't even aware of that. That's an automation gone wrong, right? Basically, in healthcare
That's
scenario.
right.
So one needs to be very careful of how this sort of automations and empathy is being taken into consideration while you're implementing AI. Similarly, in a good way, how it could help you is, let's say, for example, we have an annual health insurance checkup covered in our insurances, right? Now, how AI and automation can play into this is like, let's say, as soon as you're due for that, you're getting a personalized concierge service call from a respective clinic informing you, reminding you that, hey, you're due for your next annual checkup. Why don't you come in? It's free of cost, right? For example, it's covered by insurance. So that is a delight factor which we've seen in our NPS surveys as well from our patients. And then overall, when you are able to combine not just preferences but also some macro elements into your AI models, like let's say the location, the timing, the temperature, even, right? And then give some tailored suggestions based on that. That really, I think, boosts the patient experience. In terms of how empathy can play in, I believe in terms of outreach communication, AI can play a big role. However, when it comes to customer service, that's where you need a certain level of empathy and a personal touch to the audiences, right? Because AI is not yet that advanced to understand emotions. For example, if somebody is typing in a sarcastic or a disappointment in a chatbot, AI might not be able to understand that completely, and that's where empathy would come in.
Absolutely, thank you. Jaslyin, would you like to add on that? Any thoughts?
Yeah, so adding on to your point, actually, AI is beginning to understand empathy because it has been trained. So which goes back to the point where how I usually advise clients when I work on their MarTech and customer experience journey is to do a lot of scenario analysis, role plays, and journey mapping. I'm very obsessed with the pre-planning part of it, and I advise them to use design thinking. So how I apply design thinking? Because essentially design thinking focus a lot on empathy, bringing the focus back to the customer, the problem that you're trying to solve for your customer, not for yourself. So essentially, because why we like AI is because of the predictability as compared to people. People are a lot more unpredictable and unreliable than AI at the end of the day. We like AI and machines because they are reliable, they're dependable, they don't fall sick, and so on. They may not lie at this point. So then what it also means is people can think a lot about all the other possible scenarios to actually train the AI. So the key is actually to be able to train the AI, to know how to train your AI so that you avoid a garbage in, garbage out kind of scenario. And then the AI and decisioning flow will need to be very versatile to cater for the different scenarios like what I point to in my case study earlier. Because ultimately, you also need to make sure you allow for human intervention. Because there are certain circumstances where the AI might face a moral and ethical dilemma it cannot get over. For example, if it causes harm to itself, to humans at certain point of time, they will be stuck, which is why fully motorized vehicles, AI automated vehicles are still not big, because there are cases where no matter what, you will kill somebody or the AI might kill itself or the passengers in the car, and you can't avoid that scenario, so you need intervention.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for that. And Priyanka, I want to turn to you and just take this discussion a little bit further. Where do we draw the line as marketers between helpful personalization and privacy intrusion?
Gugu, that's a very interesting question because there's something called as the privacy personalization paradox that we are all going through. And when I talk about the customers, it's all of us in this room. Because on one hand, we want tailored recommendations. On the other hand, we are like, oh my God, does the engine know too much about me? And I think we all have this we've all talked about like discussing buying a lipstick with a girlfriend and then seeing recommendations following you everywhere and feeling like really scared about it, right? So you know, you've been there. It's interesting, when I was with AXA Health Insurance, we tried to integrate telemedicine and mental health apps into the insurance service. And some of the biggest problem that we faced was not the actual integration itself, but people's worry about how this information could potentially sort of increase their risk profile. Because if you're sort of put in a certain risk bracket, and knowing that you have a mental health challenge could totally alter your risk profile and hence how the way insurers look at you. And it goes a step further when you go into DNA testing, for instance, where you might be a healthy individual, but you are suddenly in a pool where you're probably bumped with people who have a terminal illness simply because your DNA tests show that. And then comes this whole blockchain where the information is sitting in a centralized data ledger, which could potentially then, people have questions about, like, if I disclose my mental health issues, how is this going to potentially, will this ever go to my bankers, or will it be revealed to my future employers? And so as much as you want this information to personalize and offer tailored suggestions, there's this huge paradox where the customer feels like, where do you draw the line with how much I share and how I share? And what are you going to do with that information? Where do you draw the line with that information?
Absolutely.
So I think that's the biggest paradox that we are living with right now.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. Vimal, any thoughts?
She has covered the most, but I'll add on to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you are right. There are different scenarios where data is collected as a whole. So in my opinion, I would say 3 scenarios, where we have to consider seriously. The one would be the consent for the data that is being captured. Second, it would be the transparency. And thirdly, it would be the data minimization. Let's say we all use a number of apps daily. Let's say for Apple devices, they cannot by default take these permissions away. But for other, let's say Android, it's not like I'm against Android devices, don't get me wrong. It's like, these guys for Android, you don't need permissions. For most apps, that is where the data is being captured. There are a number of series, movies, all of them warning about the consequences. So we all know what happens. Personally, I used to see the Person of Interest series. I know some of you might have seen it. And then there is this recent Hindi movie that has been released, Control, where they discuss what happens when AI gets more power, when a lot of information is being given into AI, what happens. And it all comes down to what she said. It all comes down to how the data is being captured, how it is being trained. AI, let's say, consider it like a baby. It's how you train it. If it falls into the wrong hands, it can be used wrongly. It can become a nightmare. So it all depends on how the data is being captured. So if you are able to limit it, I think by far we'll be safe. It's not like we are going to say that it's going to be like a Terminator movie where in the end AI kills us all. But if we safeguard it, I think AI will be in the best interest of everyone who uses it.
100%. While you're having the mic and on that thought, how will you see personalization evolving in the next 5 to 10 years, turning into trends?
Actually, that's a very tricky question, I would say, because why wait for 5 years? Things may happen in the next week. That is how AI is going. There is no limit to, I would say that it's beyond what we think, how AI is evolving. Maybe in the next, let's say 1 year, things might have changed drastically. So in the case of Netflix, let's say all these things, I would say, the movies, I like any of you, I also watch Netflix. So let's say in the next 5 to 10 years, let's say it's raining outside.
Yeah.
The recommendations would be something to match the theme of the mood. Let's say,
100%.
then again, it all depends on what the information is being captured. So it's like a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
So it all depends on the data that is being captured. If the data being captured, if there is a standard to which the data can be captured, and is there, let's say, there is a team, that international team that involves, make sure that the data will not be used wrongly, I think millions of possibilities would be there. Let's say predictive analysis. Amazon, let's say there is a season where allergies come into play in your scenario, yeah? So let's say at one point, we can give these opinions. Let's say AI knows I'm a person with an allergy. So at that particular moment, you say, this is good for you. Maybe, let's say you have a cold or something. These all things work well for you. So there are millions of possibilities with these things. So I think we are moving into a very interesting stage of all our lives where we can never expect what is going to come next.
Yeah, true, very true. Aaryan,
Yep.
any thoughts there on that question?
Yep, thank you for that. Actually, I'll just double down on what my friend said, two of very crucial points, that AI is evolving at an exponential rate. You could see it as compound interest, right, wherein you start small, but then as you go ahead, it will just keep on compounding because of the kind of data that is being flowing and the use cases that are coming out. Some of the use cases that I do see happening in the next 5 to 10 years, I think telemedicine would be revolutionized with all the fitness tracking devices. Samsung recently launched their Galaxy Ring as well, right? So we are moving away from, or let's say ahead of just smart bands and smart watches into smart rings. And then when this data starts flowing into, let's say, a healthcare partner or a healthcare platform like my Aster, that would just basically be able to predict what would be the health repercussions of a certain individual by following a certain lifestyle and doing certain habits, right, during the day, predict them and then analyze that and then give suggestions as well going forward that, hey, we can predict that this might be happening to you in this time if you don't fix this. So the solution is to do this right now. Right, basically. It can track your blood sugar, it can track your oxygen levels, it can track your BP as well. So all of that, I think from a health perspective, it will be a game changer in the next 5 to 10 years. Apart from that, from a design thinking perspective as well, like you said, bringing empathy into the picture would be something that I believe all models are working on. So once that happens, I believe conversational commerce would be, like happening just from your chat bot. Like you could just open your chat bot, you can just describe, hey, I want to go, for example, today to an event. It's a morning event, and this is what the population looks like in that event. Please suggest me something, what should I be wearing? So it's like having a personal concierge and not just a suggestion mechanism for shopping, right? So I think that's where we are heading towards.
No, thank you,
I just need to add one more point to him.
Yeah, sure,
I
go
kind of
ahead.
forgot. So adding to it, you might have heard of Whoop. It's a health band that is, revolutionizing the market. So I also went for it, actually. So the way the data is being captured is, it kind of surprises me. Let's say the stress levels, it can capture the stress levels of what all we are going through. So internally, when we have this management meeting and all, after the management meet, I just open the app, I show to my team, see how you guys are stressing me out. So it's like how these things are evolving, we never know.
Yeah.
I just thought I will
Yeah.
add on to that as well.
No, thank you. Thank you for adding that. And moving from trends or future trends to the ethical side of things, ethical consideration, I'm going to turn to you ladies. What should we as marketers keep in mind as we employ AI into our customer insights? What are your thoughts there? And Priyanka, you can start.
Sure. I think I have few words. One is security, 2 is ethics, 3 is trust, and 4 is bias. So let me just briefly touch upon all 4 of them. Security. So take an example of a bank which wants to personalize recommendations for you, wants to understand your financial health, has access to your credit score, has access to everything, your spend pattern, what you buy, where you buy, how you buy. How is this information going to be secure? Because as much as you want them to understand you better, you want that information to sort of reside. So cyber security today is going to be a bigger challenge than ever with AI. And talking about ethics, right? For example, we might run a segmentation campaign and we might we might sort of trust the algorithm to do a segmentation. But I think we also need to sort of still look at whether that segmentation aligns with the company values and the ethics. For instance, are we going after the wrong group? Because have we sort of trained the AI yet to think human? Is something that I do think that it'll change, but it is something that in the immediate future that we need to look at. And talking about bias, again, this actually happens a lot when we allow, where I come from, where we run ads for e-commerce, and we allow automated ads to run, there are always cases where certain demographics can totally get excluded simply because the machine thinks that it just wants to go after whoever is buying and not necessarily whoever is still observing the ad. And in a multiracial country, for instance, this could be disastrous because then the campaign is tailored only to the buying race. And lastly, if you talk about trust, I think all of us want to know what are you going to do with that information. So I think it'll be great if sort of companies come out and share their algorithm, at least when it comes to how they use your data. So if they're saying that I am going to tailor recommendations for you, Aaryan, on what clothes to wear for an event or what to shop in Dubai while you're here, I want to be able to share that how am I coming up with this recommendation. So what is the algorithm actually doing? So that we feel like, okay, listen, this is where they're drawing the trust. And I mean, that line, and we have that sense of trust when it comes to AI on a whole. I think that's the black box that we need to sort of overcome right now.
Yeah. No, thank you so much for that.
Thanks. I'll just share broadly how I would normally advise clients on their AI roadmap. So I think there's a lot of companies, they think AI is like a miracle worker. They literally just plug it on somewhere and then it works miraculously, pull out tons of insights, at a prompt. Fortunately, it doesn't work like that, especially for a lot of non-digitally native companies that are still around. So they have tons of legacy data, and actually, essentially, you first need to make sure that your data is in a consolidated platform, preferably on cloud, not sitting on somebody's laptop, hard disk or something. It's safe in their computer, and it doesn't extract anything from there. And then, of course, secondly, you need to make sure that your data is clean and of value. It's not like the more data you have, the merrier, because it can actually be very expensive if you go through tons of data sets with the AI. It costs a lot. So you need to go back to the basics of what and why. Why are you even collecting the data? For what purpose? What is the problem you're trying to get to? What is the outcome you want to see? And then, of course, because machine learning itself is not new, where I came from, we did a lot of coding from scratch to build the logic and recommendations for clients. So then you need to make sure that your original recommendations were not biased, to Priyanka's point. If you have been biased in the first place, even with the AI, it will continue to be biased. That means you will miss out on critical segments, race, gender, demographics, whatsoever, and you'll miss out on a whole chunk of it. Because I think companies need to remember, AI is not the moral and ethics compass. Humans are still the moral and ethics compass to help to guide the AI. So the power is not in the technology, but in the kind of data and the value of the data that we have.
Yeah. No, thank you.
Sorry, if I can just add on to it, I think that's a very beautiful point that you brought about on bias. And I think there are companies like IBM that are actually developing tools which can detect bias from advertising, at least, as far as I'm aware. And I think that's where we are going to be moving in the nearest future, which is that as much as we are going to actively use AI, we are also going to have that security and that bias check engines that big tech companies are going to actively build and help us navigate this space. So I do believe that that's the need of the hour.
Wow, that's a brilliant thought. So thank you, team, for this insightful discussion. On that note, as we continue to integrate AI into our marketing efforts, let's remember the importance of maintaining that human touch. Because at the end of the day, personalization is not just the technology, it's about making people feel understood and valued. The team is available for the day to continue the discussion during the break. So please help me to thank the panelists. Thank you.
So next we have Aaryan Kapur. Come on guys, huge round of applause for Aaryan. Next we have Vimal. So next we have Priyanka, Raman. And at last we have Jaslyin.